Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening everyone and welcome live to Apex Racing TV for round 9, the final round of the ARL GT Trophy Pro Season 2 here at Imola, the Autodrome Internazionale Enzo Di Dino Ferrari, better known as Imola, is a 4.9 kilometer 3-mile motor racing circuit in the town of Imola in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy, 40 kilometers east of Bologna. It is one of the few major international circuits to run in an anti-clockwise direction. The circuit is named after Ferrari's late founder Enzo Ferrari and his son Alfred Dino Ferrari, who died in 1956 at the age of 24. Before Enzo's death, it was called the Autodrome Dino Ferrari. We have arrived at the season finale here at Imola, and what a treat we have in store tonight. The gap at the top of the championship is 1 point, so meaning it's a winner-take-all championship, so I'm sure it's going to be a firecracker of a race. We've also a treat for you, our viewers, and first here on ARL, we're going to have a chat, hopefully, with the drivers before the race. So grab your popcorn, refresh your drinks, and get ready for the main event. I'm Andy Thompson. I'm joined in the commentary box with Dave Whitehouse, and in production we have Luis Arara. So welcome, Dave. Imola, last round of this season, and it's a firecracker of a round.
Yeah, evening all. What a circuit to come to. The history that this circuit has, the dangers for the drivers in terms of quite easy to trip up, run wide into gravel. You know, it's not going to be an easy race for these guys, and a championship finale covered by 1 point. It's a winner-take-all situation, and there's other positions down the grid which are also up for grabs for the drivers.
Yeah, definitely, and the added history of the night races as well. So just put a little bit more flavour into tonight's proceedings. But we can see the championship there. So Theobald Prevost leads the championship at the moment on a slender 4.64 over Kieran Havas on 4.63. Then there's a battle for third place with Odin Miravang and Luca Lang. Luca Lang's got an outside chance of leapfrogging Miravang, but would have to have Odin finish 8th or less within the championship, and Luca Lang get in there into third place. Then we got the battle for 5th and 6th between Marco Palic and Roger Christensen. Only 5 points between them two guys. Then we got the big battle that's going to be out on track for 7th between Jeremy Bonsardo, Marcus Bloom, Carl Winker, and Anders Lilliejordet there, all covered by 4 points. So that's going to be a hotly contested battle. So we've obviously going to be looking at the main battle at the front between Prevost and Havas to see who wins out the championship. But there's all these little pocket battles going to go on through the grid, and we've only got 14 drivers here tonight. So pretty much these top 10 contenders that we see on the championship standing are going to have the track mostly to themselves and not a full track. So it's certainly going to be interesting.
Yeah, of course it is. It's going to be a tough one. We've noticed in pretty much all through this season, we've hardly had drivers lapped unless they've had a really bad incident, which shows the closeness of this field. And with 14 drivers around Imola, I think it's not too bad a number, to be honest. It's going to keep the racing tight and clean. And like you say, the championship is just so close between so many different people having their own little battles. And it's a battle to get into that top 10. Remember, it's a pro championship. The top 10 get prizes in this. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top in those top 10.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we do have our championship leader currently waiting in the wings in the interview area. So we'll quickly pull him in before we try and get a few views on the rest of them. Yeah, man, welcome to the commentary box. Obviously, not the normal way around of at the end of the race, but hopefully we'll see you at the end. How are you feeling about the race tonight and the closeness and the battle with yourself and Kieran?
Hello everyone. Yeah, a bit weird being here before the race, but it's nice. How am I feeling? For now, I don't really know. Maybe a bit stressed.
So how much practice have you actually done this week for this track, and do you feel confident around here in the BMW?
How much practice? Maybe 2.5 hours or something. So not too much, not enough, to be honest. I would like to have more, but I'm feeling confident. I don't know. I will not say I'm confident because I'm still doing a lot of mistakes. It's really hard to get every lap nailed on this track. So we'll see in the race. Usually I'm more focused in the race as well, so probably gonna be less mistakes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously a great track to end the season on, and the added difficulties of driving around night. How have you sort of overcome the difficulties of driving around this track at night?
Just put up the brightness and put down the gamma.
As I think everyone does that. I think
Yeah.
obviously on there, but no, obviously at one point, and it's been a really interesting season between yourself and Kieran. You obviously got that early lead, and Kieran struggled a little bit on the Red Bull Ring on the opening round, but ever since then he's been sniping at your heels, and I think obviously out in Sebring was a. You know, you were trying to win, but unfortunately you couldn't. But has set us up for this grandstand finish. You know, how are you going to deal with the pressures during the race? Certainly is throughout this season. It's either yourself or Kieran that has been that winner in the races. So I don't see it changing here tonight. So how are you going to approach a race without giving too much away for tactics?
I think I have my strategy planned, and I know he's gonna be faster for sure. So I need to get in front as soon as I can, and yeah, even if he's listening, it's fine.
I'm sure he'll join us in a minute into the box. But Dave, have you got any questions for Theobald before we let him get back to his practice?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've been sitting here talking about the championship. How much has that been on your mind throughout the week as well? Because obviously, you say you've had 2.5 hours practice. For people like ourselves, we'd be like, yeah, that's enough. We know where we're going type thing. But for you guys at the top of the championship, you really have to focus on getting it right at like every lap. How much has the focus been on the actual point situation and thinking, I need to beat him and that, or have you been quite relaxed throughout the week thinking, yeah, well, it's only a point, it's winner takes all, it's just another race?
I thought about it a lot, but I wasn't in the mood to drive this week, so not the best week to be in that mood, but yeah, I wasn't in the mood and only started driving like 2 days ago. And usually for big races, I have like maybe 7 or 8 hours practice, but yeah, this one was just I I wasn't in the mood.
Well, sometimes they say less is more anyway, so maybe that'll
Yeah.
come to fruition for yourself tonight. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. Really looking forward to this one. We won't keep you any more, Theobald. We can let you get some a couple more minutes practice on top of that 2 hours, mate. But before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to anybody?
Yeah, again, my whole team. To you guys as well for the whole season, it was great. And to Apex Racing for the organization. Was a great championship overall.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll let you get your race head on now. And good luck in the race, and we'll certainly looking forward to a really tight race as it has been all season between yourself and Kiram. So good luck, mate.
Thank you.
So there was Theobald there in there, and we've also got Lucas Lang in. And Dave, I don't know if you want to give Lucas Lang on his battle, and obviously the battle for this championship, see where his loyalties lie.
Yeah, Lucas Lang, hiya. Sitting fourth in the championship at the moment. It's been, I would say, a relatively good year for you. You've had a couple of races that haven't gone to plan. I think of Detroit and a couple of rounds ago where you finished 12th. Watlings Glen, yes. How do you feel the season's gone?
I think the season went well. I really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun. Had some really great races with the other guys. Of course, races like ARL, Detroit, or Watkins Glen being basically out of the race in the first lap. It's not too much fun, but still, it happens. It's part of it. So
yeah, you're now in a position where you can't really be caught from behind, but you can catch Odin Mirvang for third place if things go your way. Have you been thinking about that during the week, or is it something that you just, you think I'm that little bit too far back to just beat him, and that's the way it goes? You need him to have sort of a bad race.
No, I think you always should try and finish the best in a race you can possibly do, and because you never know what happens. So, like I said, something what happened to me in like Watkins Glen or Belial could happen today, or somebody has a bad week, which I don't hope they have, because I want to have a good race with everybody. But so, of course, I know it's a bit of a long shot probably to get in P3, because Odin is just so fast and doesn't make any mistakes. But of course, I still I'm still trying to get P3.
And we've got to ask you about the top of the championship. You've had to race Theobald and Kerim throughout the season, and you've been in the battle with him with quite a few races we've been commentating on. But do you have any sort of, I wouldn't say preference on who wins, or do you have any thoughts on who you think will take this?
I have no idea. They are both so quick, and it's just amazing what they do. They're just another level, I think. And I hope they battle the whole race, and it will be decided in the last lap, because I watched the races afterwards, and yeah, it was great to see.
Yeah, I think we've been sort of shocked because we know what level sort of you, Marek, Odin, Roger are at, which is a stupidly high level, and then all of a sudden Theobald and Kerim are sort of pulling away at the front. So the level they've performed at this season, I think either of them would deserve the title.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, so we'll let you get back to any practice you want to do, but before you go, is there anybody you want to shout out to?
Yeah, first of all, I would to thank the whole broadcast team for doing an amazing job throughout the whole season, so thank you very much. And also I want to thank, of course, my team, and as always, my family, because they're always supporting me, so these are good.
Thank you, Lucas, for joining us before the race, and good luck here at Imola.
Thank you.
So there was Lucas there. He's obviously sat in fourth place, Dave. Got an opportunity to get that third. Needs a little bit of luck, but like he was saying, Mirvang is Mr. Cool and Mr. Consistent in the previous rounds. I think their drop scores are exactly the same. Both got a 12th drop score overall, but certainly going to be interesting. And like we were saying, there's little pocket battles throughout: first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and then you got 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 10th all in a battle to be able to get that 7th place. So there's going to be a lot of permutations that can happen during this race, and the drivers, as we see on screen, even in the practice, are all extremely close to each other as we come throughout the whole season. But we do have the opposite side of the ring, as you would say in a boxing ring. We've got Kerem in the interview area. Let's grab Kerem and bring him in to try and get his thoughts. Hi Kerem, welcome to the commentary box. Obviously a little bit different for you at the start of the race rather than at the end. First question is how are you feeling?
Oh, hello guys. Yeah, I'm feeling great about the track and the setup, of course. It's feeling quite nice. I mean, I didn't do too many laps in this practice session because I already practiced before. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident, and let's see what happens.
Well, I mean, obviously just coming into the practice and then sitting at the top there by about 0.3 of a second is always nice to do. But, you know, your thoughts on this track, a great historical track is Imola, a season finale, and the added effect of obviously racing around at night. How are you feeling about that?
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorites actually in this game. It's not updated one, obviously, but I like the old version of it quite a lot more than the current layout on the real life. And yeah, on the night there's no lights at all around the track, so it's gonna be quite spooky. Like I will try to not to hit the grass. And yeah, that's it. Just try to stay clean and get to the finish line.
Well, I'm pretty sure yourself and Theobald will be lighting up the track with how you've been all season. Just looking obviously over your season, you had the first round at Red Bull Ring. You know, that was a bit of a disaster for yourself. Obviously, starting at the back of the grid from the qualifying that you had, and then you managed to make your way up to like 8th. And then obviously had an incident on, I think it was just after the power horse. Yeah, it was a turn after the power horse. We're coming down into the next corner that you spun out, and obviously at the back of the grid. But since then, you've just come on leaps and bounds again and shown your real speed at the front of the grid. And you know, yourself and Theobald are the only two that have actually won a race in this GT Trophy Season 2. What was you feeling after that first race?
Yeah, it was actually, I knew I didn't have enough pace to get the win against Provo, but I was planning to get the P2 for the championship. But yeah, qualifying didn't go well at all. And yeah, I started from the back. Like I still tried to get the P2, like I think I can do it. I thought I can do it. But yeah, it was quite rough especially on the start of the race, like first 15 minutes or something. I stuck on the traffic, and you couldn't pass at all because everyone is in the draft. So yeah, on the last incident, actually, it was quite tough. I mean, quite unlucky. But yeah, it is what happens.
I mean, obviously, you knew that you had a drop round score, but to have it that early on in the season must have put that little bit of added pressure on yourself. Have you been feeling the pressure, making sure that you don't make mistakes because you haven't got the ability of a drop score?
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I try to get the good results so I can use the drop round on the other races if I had a tough luck. But yeah, it didn't go well on the Red Bull Ring at all.
But it just shows your prowess there. Obviously, your first round was your bad round. Obviously, that was going to be a drop round. Couldn't afford to have a bad round, and pretty much you haven't. You know, you've come on so strong, managed to catch Theobald there, and now currently going into the last round of the season, 1 point behind him. I mean, you've got to be nervous. You don't sound it. You sound extremely relaxed, to be honest, but you've got to be nervous.
Yeah, I'm a bit of relaxed and a bit of, you know, I don't know what to expect from this race. I mean, I know me and Trevor are gonna have a good race for sure, but maybe I can do some mistakes, or I don't know, like I take grass or something, because that's what I always do on this track. I take grass and spun around on the official races. So yeah, but other than that, it's yeah, I'm pretty confident about the track overall. And yeah, let's see what happens.
Dave, have you got any questions for Kieran?
Yeah, I think I just got to sort of say, obviously, good luck. And in terms of the week we've had, we were talking to Sophia about. He said he's had, I think it was 2.5 hours practice, and he has been thinking about it during the week. Have you sort of had your mind on it throughout the week, or have you sort of gone, well, I've got to beat him. It's just a normal race. Let's just crack on as normal.
Yeah, actually, I knew this track. I raced there quite a lot. The only problem was the setup, so I practiced to make the setup as good as possible. I mean, the safest possible for sure, because it's a 60-minute race. Yeah, actually, I didn't worry too much about my pace. I mean, even I was slower than Prova, it shouldn't be too much at all, like maybe 1/10 or something. So it's gonna be a close fight still, even I'm quite a bit of faster than him. It's gonna be a close fight for whole race. But yeah, I'll try to stay in front.
Well, we'll let you get back to a little bit more practice, Karen, but really thank you for joining us in the commentary box before your race. Would you like to give a shout out to anyone before we let you go?
Yeah, actually, quite different than the previous rounds. I would like to thank you to Apex for this season. I mean, there wasn't so many people in this league, like only 15 people that completed all the races so far. But it was quite fun to do. Like, I mean, I have fight with Prova and other people that fight with each other. So everyone had a fight with each other. So it's quite entertaining league, I would say. And also thank you guys for the broadcasting the whole season. Like it's been a really good season so far. Yeah, I really thank you guys for that as well.
Thank you very much for that, Karam, and good luck for the race. And please join us after the race to get your thoughts on it. So good luck.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you guys.
There was Kiram Havaz there. So we've had a chat to our top two contenders in this heavyweight battle that's been going on all season, coming down to this final race here, and got the added complication of it being dark as well. So we never make it easy for them here at Apex. And just to let you know, we haven't paid any of the drivers to thank Apex. That was all off their own backs as well. But we do a fantastic job, Dave.
Yeah, speak for yourself. So I'm just looking at the timing screen at the moment. Havertz, yeah, clear and gone, but Carl Winkler doing a really good job at the moment. And he, you know, these drivers, we got this championship battle which we keep going on about, but anybody could just hop in there and be a little bit of a spoiler at some point. And say Carl gets in between Havertz and Prevo off the start, and then all of a sudden all the strategies go out the window and it's game on terms of thinking on your feet to try and make something work.
It is. I mean, we've talked to the drivers about their mindset during this week for this round, but one thing we haven't talked about is obviously this track itself. It can be a difficult place to pass. You know, you've got the obvious places coming down this, as we're watching Thomas Wangen here coming down into Ravazza, always an optimal place that people try to stick it up onto these inside. You've got the start-finish straight, and then you've got the turn out of Tamburello coming down into Villeneuve is always a good one, and then you got Tulsa on the inside. So, you know, apart from that, it's quite difficult to pass around this course, and like Kieran was saying, it's very easy to put a wheel on the grass, and this track bites you back.
Yeah, I'm just thinking through the overtaking spots, and you got down into Ravazza 1 and 2. That's a very good overtaking spot, but so easy to overshoot if you're on the inside line because it never gets used, and you've got to get the outside run through the little kink just beforehand, straight to the curb and try and brake. And by the time you've done that, you've gone, oh, I'm right down in the corner. And the similar thing happens with Toaster as well, because you come through the chicane and you end up running very wide on the exit instead. So there's so many little places to catch you out around here, and the drivers will know about it all. But I mean, the racing's going to be stupidly close. We've got the top four good by 1.179 at the moment. And we've seen in practice, you know, quite often Havertz will run away with it. And I think last time out, Prevo was about 6/10 off the pace in practice. And then all of a sudden was right on him in qualifying. So, you know, let's just park the practice times to one side for a bit, because they don't always tell the true story.
No, a little bit of mind games that goes on certainly in this practice. Know they're on the fast lap time, so just take it off towards the end to lose a little bit of time to give a false sense of security to the guys around them. So these top drivers pulling all the pro tricks out of the bag, I think, at the end of the day. But it's going to be an interesting one. Currently have 14 drivers in this round. Although, you know, you may think 14 drivers it's not going to be that good. These rounds have been fantastic. These drivers are all extremely close to abilities. Kieran and Theobald do have that slight edge where they just manage to be able to pull away from the rest, but the rest of the field is always tightly compact, and I'm expecting the same here tonight, to have these really long trains and have some really good battles in the midfield area of the race. And one of the interesting things as well, Dave, is, you know, the first half of the race, you always seem to have Havertz and Prevost, and then you have 3 or 4. Normally Roger Christensen's up there with them, Carl Winkler's been there for a little bit, Lucas Lang, and then all of a sudden, after the round of pit stops, there's a big gap between Havertz, Prevost and the rest of the field. I just don't know how those two guys do it.
Yeah, they just seem to pull away in the second half of the race for whatever reason, and it's I just don't get where the pace comes from. Like Lucas says, they're just on another planet in terms of their driving at times, and you know, it is what it is. The drivers have held their hands up and gone, okay, yeah, we're battling for third. But like you say, each race, we may not have had everybody there that you may think might be there or anything like that, and only 15 drivers, but there's been battle for position after position. No one's been left off the bat massively, and we've now got very close championships all the way through for all of the top 10 positions, which is all the prizes. And most importantly, of course, the Prevost Havertz battle at the front, which, yeah, we all wanted to happen, but then it seemed a bit unfair on Prevost in the last round, going, yeah, come on, Kieran, make sure you beat him.
Yeah, but you know, everybody likes a grandstand finish, and to be able to have one after, I mean, I think it's a fitting end to this championship. You know, it's been a really good championship. The guys at the front have managed to put on a really good show, and they've been super close to each other. And considering the close battles that they've only had the one incident in Spa. Apart from that, it's been really good battling between the two drivers, and you know, pretty much taking the spoils in each of the rounds for the race win. So I think it is a fitting end, even though Theobald probably didn't want it to end like this. Probably would have liked to get it done in Sebring, but you know, Kieran always said that he was quite quick around Sebring, so always had a good opportunity to close that gap to the 1 point, and that's exactly what we've got here tonight. So, you know, for ourselves and the viewers, it's going to be an excellent race, and yeah, it's going to be really close battling because they both know what's on the line.
Yeah, exactly, and you can't get much closer than they are at the moment with 0.057. I know I said you ignore practice times, but that shows that both drivers are in a position where they can put the pace on and push forward. So I get where Theobald keeps saying, yeah, Kieran's quick around here, but when it's got to race, these two have pulled away together, and not. I think there's only been about one race where Kieran's got out in front and just gone, and that was Sebring last time out. So I think we take what they say with a pinch of salt slightly, and just see it as them taking the pressure off ourselves. So yeah, as you can see at the moment, that is apparently Fernando Torres. It is very dark here at Imola right now, and it'll be interesting, obviously, in the race as well, because normally you'd look in your mirror and you go, right, that's Prevost or that's Winkler, and the only thing you can probably do. Oh, hello.
Classic mistake.
That's Fernando visiting the gravel at Tamburello. But yeah, you normally know who's behind you. I mean, obviously you have the timing and that. But if you are in a big group and you just see headlights, unless you know the headlights of different cars, you won't have a clue who's behind you in terms of what type of car and things like that. So that can play on your mind a little bit, because you can see the lights, flashing the lights. I mean, it's not technically against the rules, so is that going to come into play? Just trying to distract the driver in front. These night races can do everything.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, one car you won't fail to recognise will be the Lamborghini with the endurance headlights. Maybe an unfair advantage, some would say, but you're certainly not going to not notice the Lamborghini behind you. So
you almost said Ferrari then.
I did nearly say Ferrari. We haven't got one tonight, which is a bit unfortunate, and we haven't got my favourite car. He's not able to make this round, so the McLaren not here tonight, which is a little bit disappointing, but we can't have everything our own way, I suppose.
Yeah, and as you see, Pacetti, he's come into the championship. He's had 2 races, but only really 1 chance at running in the races, and done a good job of it. So did the McLaren driver. Name escapes me now, but yeah, he did really well last time out. I think 5th or 6th. So we're looking there at a couple of drivers who could very easily come into the next GT3 championship that's been held and perform really well.
Yeah, it's always good to get that little bit of practice racing in these leagues, to just see the standard of driving, so you're fully aware for next season. It also gives you an understanding of where you're at. Obviously, these guys have been racing week in, week out for the last 9 weeks, so are really in tune with the car that they're currently driving. But it gives you a good advantage going into the next seasons. Or the next season, to have an understanding of the car and the tracks, and just basically the ethos of these championships, which is, it's all about the hard racing but very fair. You know, you don't get the usual iRacing, what should we call them, optimistic people making deep lunges into corners and stuff like that. It's very, very civil, but also very hard and very close passing. But that is the end of the practice, so the cars are all just coming out for a 10-minute qualifying here. So this is where we'll really see the mustard of these drivers and see who comes out on top. So let's just see who can win the battle of round 1 in the qualifying, and to see if give them a good stepstone for the race.
That is the nicest way that I've ever heard anybody call a dive bomber.
I'm trying to be PT.
Optimistic. Yeah. Well, the thing is, these are pro drivers, so the optimistic moves normally come off, and we have seen a couple of great moves by people this year in terms of just taking a dive and it's working. But the drivers now seem to be, I don't know what will be better in this qualifying. Is it better to be out on your own, concentrating on yourself without reflection of the headlights? Or is it better to go with somebody, because you're going to see more of a trap because you've got more lights pointing at it? It's a difficult one to know, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always one for being out on my own, because you're so used to the track, and like you say, you've driven it around. If as soon as you start following, you always get into like the sheep effect, where you know you're following exactly the same lines as the car in front, and if they make a mistake 9 times out of 10, you inevitably make that mistake. Or the other thing, the guy in front makes a mistake and completely wrecks your qualifying lap. So there's always that. There is the added benefit of maybe the slight slipstream effect, but around this track, it's only really the start-finish straight that you're really going to get that maximum benefit of the slipstream effect. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I suppose it's down to driver preferences, but we can sort of see on track a lot of the drivers decide to just join the train. I just feel sorry for the guy out in front.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of a slipstream idea behind that, and obviously the RPC guys, there's 4 of them all working together, and it looks like they will claim the teams championship this year. Of course, in Racing 1 do have 2 drivers. 2 drivers here today. So yeah, it looks like RPC Esports will claim the team's championship at the end of this race, which will be probably deserved to have had 3 very quick drivers throughout the year. And I think Thomas Wangen's been very unlucky. Raskolson hasn't done the whole year. Miravang, bit fluctuating in terms of results in the middle of the year, but has got his speed back already as one of them RPC guys goes off the track on the exit of Tamburello. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But it looks like Prevo's actually hit the front of this queue now, so he's decided he's not going to hang around behind somebody for a tow. He just wants to get a banker lap straight in the books as he heads up to Piratella for the first time in a flying lap. Doesn't touch the grass, but this is so easy to run wide here. It's normally a third or fourth gear corner in these cars, depending what sort of ratios you want to run down into Aqua Minerale. You've got to be committed through that first bit, into the second bit, don't run too wide, and then up to the I don't want to call it a horrible little chicane because it's testing, but yeah, the horrible little chicane at Variante Alta, which the chicane's fine. It's just how tight it gets on exit, and then you end up getting a slowdown or a 1x, and you're just like, what? I couldn't have gone anywhere else.
So it's one of them hard corners, isn't it? You hit it, you're gonna have your left wheels, your right wheels off, then your left wheels off the ground when you go around them high curbs as you do it. So it's wherever the car takes you, and you know, it's quite an easy track as well to get them off track. Certainly coming up around Piratella, that outside bit, if you take it a little bit too wide, you could get that 1x, and obviously that'll put paid to your lap times. But the lap times are starting to come in now, and Lucas Lang currently sits at the top with a 141.836. Thomas Wangen there, 900ths of a second behind Lucas Lang. Miravan, 1 second, and then we got Kieran Mavaz just coolly pops himself to the top with a 140.9, so 0.8 of a second at the moment, ahead of Lucas Lang in second place. That's an outstanding time there, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing though, there's 2 very different racing lines across the race start line. Prevost went very wide, trying to put as little turning energy into the car as possible, and Havertz kept it very tight to the pit wall. I'd like to see Prevost this time round, because I think he was doing that because he picked up an X and nullified his qualifying lap, because he hasn't come up on the timing screen, and he's done. He's on his 5th lap at the moment, so I wonder if he's just nullified his time somewhere on the lap. And Rask Olsen moves up into 6th place. Roger Christensen moves up into 3rd. So Prevost will be somewhere out there on the circuit. Is this him now? Yeah, it's quite hard to see in the dark, isn't it? But here he is out there on track. But he went so wide, just trying not to scrub off the speed, which I think works in quicker machinery, but in these type of cars you want to keep it close to the pit wall for the shortest distance.
Yeah, it is, but I mean, this is the added pressure now. We've got 4 minutes left of qualifying. Theobald Prevost hasn't put in a time, you know, and that's where you start feeling the pressures. You know, you're pushing as hard as you can, you know, and you pick up them pesky 1 off track, which pays to your qualifying lap and puts you under more and more pressure as the time goes on. So really just needs to set down a bench time, even if it's mid-pack. At least he's got something on the board, and then he can start pushing, because the closer it gets to that 10-minute marker and he's still struggling, that could be disastrous for Theobald. So really needs to try and get that time set and get something on the board.
Yeah, we're just going to wait till he comes round towards the end of the lap, but Marek Paulich on a good lap at the moment. P6 here. But we're watching Prevost. No, this is Paulich coming down into Rivazza. Yeah, it looks like Rivazza to me. And he's coming around the second part and heading off towards the line. He's going to go quicker this time by the looks of the green sectors at the bottom of the screen. You can see Kim Havertz not on a quicker lap this time by. But here we go, Marek Paulich across the line. And does he move up the order? Yes, moves up into 4th place. I've noticed as well, Lucas Lang doing exactly what he needs to do. He is actually beating Miravang, but all of the RCP guys as well. So that is really important for Lucas Lang. But I have also noticed Fearbad Prevo did not get a lap on the board last time round either. So the pressure really is on for the championship leader.
Yeah, definitely doesn't want to be starting at the back of the grid, because that'll give Kieran Havas the jump that he'll need to maybe stay out in front, and we want to see them quite close together for the battling that they've had all season. So a lot of pressure at the moment over Fearbad to try and get that qualifying lap in. It looks like Kieran had a storming qualifying lap, and obviously that's putting a lot of pressure here on Prevot at the moment. Got 2 green sectors at the moment. First sector was not as fast as ones he's done, but has done sector 2 and 3 as a green sector for him. So hopefully this time he'll be able to get a lap time on board and at least put himself on, because he's only going to have this lap and one more to probably set a time in it. Probably run out of time before the 3rd lap. So has he managed to put a time in? Yes, he has. It goes second, 4/10 of a second. But that will take a little bit of pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, it moves up onto the front row. That's the most important thing for Prevo. Whether it's pole or second, it's partly insignificant. It's better than last, isn't it? And Prevo kept towards the pit wall that time, so he obviously was setting up the next lap by running out wide and getting as much speed as he can across the line. But it didn't count because he got an X on the lap, as we're now seeing Oidin Miravang down in 7th, Lucas Lang 3rd. Now, we said before, Lang finishes 3rd, Miravang finishes 8th. This championship 3rd place goes to Lucas Lang. So it'd be interesting just to see what happens here. Luckily for Miravang, he has Roger Christensen and Thomas Wangen right ahead, who might be very interested in sort of jumping out of the way, and Rask Olsen goes up into 7th. So Miravang is actually 8th now and will start no higher than 8th, because he is in the pit lane now and will not get out in time.
No, definitely. So at the moment, Lucas doing what he can there in that Porsche, and has driven that Porsche exceptionally well. We said it before in this championship, you know, the Porsche, not the renowned for the straight line speed, but he seems to get every ounce of miles per hour out of that car going around the track, and has driven it exceptionally well. I mean, obviously once he's been in the commentary booth, he said that he really prefers this Porsche car in the GT3s and really knows how to drive it, and you can certainly tell that out on track. And barring some small incidents at certain rounds, you know, he would certainly be up in that top 3 quite comfortably, but it hasn't been that way all season, and not for the want of trying, but unfortunately some of the rounds got caught up in a few incidents. But he's put himself in the ideal position here, being in 3rd, his rival down in 8th, but like you said, he's got 3 RPC Esports team members in front of him, so it'd be sort of interesting to see what they do through in the race. But they're in battles of their own.
Yeah, exactly. Battles of their own championship, especially with the core sim racing guys. And Anders Lear-Jordet popped himself a time on the last lap of qualifying to move up into 10th place. Here comes Raskolson across the line, and if he didn't need to, he moves up into 3rd place. That's really important for RCP Esports, just ahead of Lucas Lang. But Havertz on his last lap just extended the lead to a calm half second.
I mean, that's just an insane speed. We've seen him super close out on track, but to be half a second ahead in the last round is going to put him in good stead for the race. So over to you, Dave, for the grid.
As you can see on your screen, Kerm Havertz is on the pole position for PGZ Assistance. He is 1 point behind, but 1 position ahead of Thibaut Prevost, who's half a second down in qualifying, but we've seen that kind of gap before, and Prevost a lot better in the race. So we've got the championship order that we want on the front row. Orvid Rask Olsen, 3rd place for RPC Esports. He will be trying to hold back Lucas Lang, who is going for 3rd in the championship against Orvid's teammate Odin Miravang. Thomas Wangen and Roger Christensen round out row 3 from Marit Paulich and Odin Miravang, who needs to finish in the, if Lang finishes 3rd, Miravang needs to be in the top 7. Carl Winkler is in 9th, ahead of Anders Lear-Jordet, who just got into the top 10 at the last minute. Marcus Bloom 11th, with Filippo Puccetti in 12th. And 13th and 14th is Fernando Torres and Brian Kroon. So that's the grid for this race here at Imola, and I'll hand over to Andy for the start of it. When Andy comes back. Anyway, we're just waiting for all the drivers to sit there on the rolling up lap. And I think all the drivers have actually got onto the rolling up grid very quickly. So we may get a quick start to this.
All eager to get underway. So obviously it looks like they're going to start just after turn 12 here. So only got a short little drive down here going into Ravazza 1 and 2 before they get onto the start finish and get this race underway. So it's going to be interesting to watch all the little pocket battles, but Kieran Havas is once again leading the front of the field here, but has his main protagonist right alongside him, Prevo, and obviously fitting that these two are at the top of the championship. Obviously covered, as we said, by 1 point, so it'll be interesting to see what Kieran does. I think he was going to try and go there, but obviously the safety car hadn't gone in, so I had to slow down a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be hard for him to get away or try and get a jump start here. So even at the absolute last minute to be able to do, backing up the field, bunching them all up, and there he goes. He's gone away. Got a good little bit of a jump there, but not too much. Prevost there in second place. Rasholskun was trying to make a move onto Prevost as they come down into Tamburello for the first time. So hopefully all the drivers keep it nice and clean through here, no untoward incidents, as they all seem to do. So a great start, guys, and obviously the front two still in the front two positions.
Yeah, the perfect start for both the front two, but already a second clear of Raskolson. So Raskolson either just didn't get Tamburello right, or is already trying to hold up Lucas Lang, as Odin Mirvang has already dropped a place to Marek Paulich further back. So that is quite crucial. Actually, it's not Paulich who's passed him, it's Carl Winkler who's got two of them. So Carl Winkler, who we saw very quick in practice, has decided to start this race quite hard on the moves, but we've got Havertz and Prevost out in front, deciding this championship how we thought it would get decided. The two of them trying to pull away, and Prevost about half a second behind at the moment on this opening lap, but I wouldn't read too much into it. It only takes a little mistake round Imola, as I think there was a little one there by Havertz as he come over the chicane. The Lamborghini won't ride them curbs as well as the BMW, which is a one advantage Prevost will have here tonight.
Yeah, some of these corners are quite savage, and that Lamborghini, not known for its suspension travel, quite a hard car, and when you go over to the corners in the wrong way and hit them curbs, you really do feel it. It can really unsettle the car, losing a little bit of his advantage, and Prevost there just behind him in second place, closing the gap up, so you can see the power of that slipstream down that start finish. Going to look at making a move here onto turn one. Just don't think he's going to get it done. Kieran covering that inside, but completely telling the Lamborghini driver in front of him, I'm still here, mate. I'm going to be with you now for the next 58 minutes. So a race on between these two drivers, but like you said, already starting to pull out a sizable lead over the first place Rasholskun there. 1.8 seconds is the lead between third and first at the moment. So these two, as usual, so at least it's going to race format, is that these two are starting to pull away from the rest, but certainly you can see from third all the way down, they're closely compacted from Raskolskin in third, Lang in fourth, Wangen in fifth, Christensen in sixth, and then you've got a little bit of a gap, only 0.7 of a second to Winkler, who's had an excellent start, like you said, Dave, getting up 2 places off the grid, and having an excellent run over his teammate Michael Paulich, of course, in Racing 1, and Odin Mirvang. But this is not where Odin needs to be at the moment if he wants to secure that third place. He needs to make sure that he's at least 1 to 2 cars back from Lucas Lang to secure that third place at the moment. But at the moment, he would be in fourth place overall, and Lucas Lang would leapfrog him into that third place in the championship. So at the moment, going Lucas Lang's way, but still very early days.
Yeah, it's very early days around Imola. It's not like they've got masses of runoff if they make a mistake. It is grass and gravel, but like you were saying about the Lamborghini, it's got the suspension travel of a go-kart at times, and that will be hard for the drivers to try and control. But generally is the quickest car this season. But Prevost has done wonders with that BMW, which we saw being the quickest car last season on iRacing. So it seems like iRacing are just swapping it around to keep you on your toes. But the BMW driver has done a great job in what I won't say the Lamborghini's the quicker car, it's a preferred car, I think is the way we need to put it.
I think that Lamborghini, they both got their different attributes. A Lamborghini is like what you would call an all-rounder. It's pretty good at most things. The BMW certainly has got that grunt going down the long straights, so prefers the long straight tracks, such as like Spa. This is, it's probably a bit of an unknown. You would probably say the advantage would lie with the Lamborghini for this round. But with them lights as well, and when we saw inside of Kieran's car there, he has, rather than a rear view mirror, he's got like a rear camera thing, and all you just saw is the lights of Prevost just right behind him. So he's going to be having that a lot here tonight, so just need to make sure that doesn't detract him from his racing line. And like he said on the interview at the start of the race, is that he's quite prone to making the slight mistakes on getting onto the grass. So let's see if he can keep this race clean. But at the moment, Prevost still keeping it honest.
Yeah, I think with the opening 5 minutes of this race, Prevost will be the happier of the two, knowing that Havertz had that huge pace in qualifying and Prevost is currently matching him. And we're not hearing much lift and coast from Kerem either, which normally when we've been on board with him this season, we've heard a lot of lift and coast. Doesn't sound like he's doing so today, and I think he won't be too pleased to see that the BMW is keeping up with him. Just looking at the battle for third place, though, really close still between Rasmussen and Lang, and I think Rasmussen just seems to be holding up pretty much all the way down to about 10th place, with Anders Learjordet trying to join the back of that train. But it's all the normal suspects: Rasmussen, Lang, Wangen, Christensen, Winkler, Paulich, Miravang. This race is going to the season script at the moment, with the top two pulling away and that group just fighting it out for third place.
I mean, it's quite amazing how these front two have managed to get 3.3 seconds after 6 minutes of racing on this track. But like you said, going to script at the moment as it normally does. Rasmussen there, still maintaining that third place, but does have Lucas Lang right behind him. That Porsche just ready to pounce wherever he can, and be interesting to see if we just stay on board with Lucas, just to see if he can close that gap coming down the start finish, and just see what that slipstream effect does, whether his setup is lower or higher than Rasmussen's in front of him. Obviously the Audi is a very quick car in a straight line, and it looks like it's pretty much neutralised. Lucas doesn't seem to be actually starting to gain on him now coming into the first, so still getting that top speed out of that Porsche over the Audi in front of him. So great racing prospect for that third place, and you don't really you hope the drivers keep it all on track, to rather see the racing on track rather than drivers make a mistake and lose positions then, because just makes the race a lot more entertaining.
Yeah, Marcus Bloom has had an incident somewhere. He's set a 1:58 on the last lap, so we'll just see what happens here. Oh, he's gone up the inside of Anders Learjordet and just lost it by himself by the looks of that. The tyres will be just about coming up to temperature, but I don't even think that was netcode. I think it was just literally just like lost it on the outside line, goes to the inside, and I don't think there's a touch. They're very close, but I don't think there is a touch. I think it just Marcus going around, and very lucky. Who was that? Pachetti almost running into the front of Marcus Bloom. At the same time, on that lap, Paulich went past Carl Winkler, setting a time 1 second quicker than his teammate. So maybe a wave through by Winkler to his teammate, because he seems to have that little bit more pace right now.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's great. Obviously, at night you see the night lights on these cars and some great neon strips there on the Lamborghini with a blue light inside. So always great. Still not as good as the Ford, you know, with that side pod light, but unfortunately we don't have any Fords in the GT3. I don't think I've ever seen a Ford in the GT3 league race, so maybe somebody is willing to drive the Ford for the Ford banner in these GT3 class. Certainly not your car of choice in the choice of cars, which is ever growing in this GT3 class, really popular on iRacing. But the front two at the moment pulling out that lead, currently at nearly 5 seconds to Ras Olsken in third place. These two, little bit of a gap forming between Havertz and Perron now, 1.2 seconds. So last lap was a real game changer where Havertz did a 141.75 with the about done a 142.14. So a slight bit of damage done on that last lap, but seems to be pulling away ever so slightly. But don't write off the Abad yet. He certainly will close that gap and capitalise on any slight mistake that Kieran Havertz does.
Yeah, he will. And going to the markings on the Lamborghini, you say the highlighted markings, it reminds me of a driver I know who I go-kart against who has lights on his helmet when it gets dark, which is a which is all right at Christmas, but it's a bit strange looking behind and seeing that coming towards you in sort of like dusk time. And I think they're like just come on anyway. I don't think he has to turn them on, so it's quite a sight at times. And the Lamborghini just reminded me of that. Shame we haven't got McLaren spitting the fire in the dark. That'd be
quite impressive, yeah.
That would keep Andy quiet for a few minutes, I think.
I don't know what you're saying, but real hot battle for that 5th place at the moment between Wagon and Christian, two teammates, covered by 0.5 of a second as well. So a lot of battle here. Anywhere down from this 3rd all the way down to 6th. The group is sort of fractured a little bit with Marko Palic just getting off the back of this group and obviously getting caught by his teammate Carl Winkler there in 8th place with Miravan in 9th. But Miravan needs to look at trying to make a move at the moment, because Lucas Lang would take that 3rd place overall in the championship if it ends as it is at the moment. And Miravan just seems to be struggling a little bit in that BMW, so maybe it's not the track for BMW at Imola.
Yeah, he's struggling a little bit, but I wouldn't want to be Lucas Lang, because you're in a battle, you're well ahead of Miravan, but the 3 people you were battling are all his teammates. You know, nothing's going to go against you, but they might just try and move on you a little harder than another driver, knowing that it's you fighting their teammate for the championship. So it is it's a very interesting tactical position for our, you know, you've got 4 cars you can play against, one here for the RCP Esports team in a clean tactical way. And it'd be interesting to see how they do it, whether they maybe pick Wangen or Christensen early and try and do the undercut, you know, or leave Raskolson out long in front of Langen, just frustrate him a bit. Who knows? The tactics could mean anything, but they are slowly coming back to the pace of Havertz and Prevost as Lang has a look at Raskolson, but Raskolson defends. And I think this is what a lot of the gap is. It's Raskolson defending against Lang.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be the way, but Raskolson defending his own ground as well within his rights to in that 3rd place, but currently a 7.5 second gap. And what is noticeable on the timing tower is that gap between Havertz and Prevost at the moment, out to 2 seconds for the first time in this race. So Kieran really putting a lot of pressure, around about 0.3 of a second faster at the moment than Prevost in 2nd place. And be interesting to see on the tyres as well, because this is a track that really eats into them tyres. So it'd be interesting to see towards the tail end of the race what the speeds are like with the cars, because we've seen that BMW not exactly forgiving on the tyre situation. So maybe taking a little bit of that into his his strategy here, Prevost, and just trying to be smooth and consistent to save something for later on in the race.
I am noticing one thing with the Porsche, so the rear brakes are glowing red even when the fronts have cooled back down again, and we can see it on Brian Kroon's car as well, and it just must be the rearward brake bias that the Porsche needs to get around the circuit. You can see the front's dying off and the back ones are still bright orange compared to the other cars, which are sort of dull down the straight, and you don't really see the brake discs. So that's quite an interesting little thing. You see them both shining bright into there, and then on the exit they've dulled down, but the rears are still really, really bright. And we've got a change ahead. Wangen and Lang are fighting for position here, and it looks like Wangen might have got ahead, and so is Christensen as well. So what has happened here in Tamburello, Lang has lost a couple of positions. He won't be happy about that, and I wonder whether Wangen has just sent one up the inside of Tamburello. Here we go. Yeah, he's quite far back, to be honest, at the moment. So this move has come from a long way back. Lang, yeah, miles back by Wangen. Lang's seen him coming. Oh, that was a little bit naughty by Wangen, but he stays ahead, so that will certainly probably be looked at if Lang wants to make something of that. But we'll see how the race continues. But yeah, a little late by Wangen, but I personally, if I was Wangen, I would have waved Lang back through.
Yeah, probably was that over-ambitious move down there. It's always inviting on this track to do that as well. Certainly as you're closing up with that slipstream, but coming from a fair way off to make that lunge. Luckily, Lang just managed to keep it further out. Could see the move was coming and fought ahead and let him pass. Wasn't happy to do it. Obviously saw him flashing his lights at the end there, but not only losing the place to Wangen, Christensen managed to sneak his way through there and overtake Lang as well. So what that has done is Miravang in 9th, Lang down to 6th. That will give Miravang the third place back in the championship, and it's his two teammates that have helped him out along the way.
Yeah, it's what I was saying earlier. I wouldn't have wanted to be Lucas Lang with two of his teammates behind and one in front, because just taking that little bit more of a risk with a move. You know, that move was on for Wangen, just didn't get the car slowed down enough, and then coming from that far back, if you don't get it slowed down enough, you're to blame for it if there's contact. And Lang going up the inside of Christensen into Tosa, not quite making a move. Christensen cutting across his nose very harshly. The RCP boys obviously just trying to work to keep Lang behind, because they've certainly not got the eyes in front of the traffic. And Michael Paulich is right up behind Lucas Lang now, so the Germans line astern just behind the three Norwegians.
Yeah, and what this has done is let Rasmussen out a little bit of a gap, 2 seconds between himself and Thomas Wangen in 4th place. So a little bit of pressure off Rasmussen there, but in a bit of a no man's land, 2 seconds behind to Thomas Wangen and about 6 seconds to Prevost in front, who's constantly losing a little bit of time here. Is the Valkyrie competition driver, 2.5 seconds behind Kieran Havertz, who seems to be at the moment really on track. I mean, if we look at the last lap time, 141.96 for Kieran Havertz and 143.02 for Neobad. So, wow, I mean, what a lap to put in.
Yeah, Havertz just stamping his authority on this race, 17 minutes in. And we're starting to come towards the pit stop. It's a little bit too early for it. And there is a 42.6 by Rasmussen for his fastest lap of race, which proves to me that he was looking in his mirror for a long time, watching Lang behind him and concentrating more on that than him going forward. Now Lang's dropped back. Rasmussen is released at the front to sort of look forward and try and push on. But we're now looking at Kim Havertz. This is the driver who needs to beat Prevost today to take the title. Prevost only 2.5 behind. And I have seen Havertz just clipping the grass every now and again. And look at that, on the last lap, Prevost pulled back 9/10 of a second. So that was on lap 10. So it's not over yet. We've seen things change in these races very easily. These two have been a class apart, but they have made mistakes themselves as well.
Yeah, certainly. I've still a long way to go in this race. Obviously, 42 minutes left of this hour-long race. Still got the round of pit stops to go as well, which always sometimes throws a spanner in the works, and all depending where it has. But you know, if it goes to form, Kieran Havas normally managing to pull out an extra lap or 2 laps over Theobald in second place, so it'd be interesting to see what happens here. But like you were saying at the start of the race, we're not hearing him coasting half as much as we've seen him in previous rounds. So really putting the pedal to the metal here and just trying to get that big of a gap as he possibly can over Prevost in second place at the moment, and doing a great job, 2.7 seconds ahead. But the battle at the moment seems to be for that 4th place, really hotting up between Thomas Wang and Christiansen. Lang, Paulich has come to join the battle as well, and Winkler's not that far behind. Where we were saying about this midfield battle will be tight, you can see exactly how tight it is on screen.
Yeah, Lang is stuck in the middle of it, all of this, and just needs to be careful here to keep his race on track. But Wangen has now taken on the part as Lang goes to the inside of Christiansen. Christiansen's seen him. Christiansen will get a better run out the corner, and Lang now has to watch for Paulich, who's going to head up the outside of him towards the Piratella corner. They're side by side. Will he be able to go around the outside? Going to be close, but it's Lang who keeps it due to Paulich having to hold on. But Wangen has took on the Raskolson role now. Let's back the pack up. Let's keep Miravang in this race, because he doesn't seem to have the outright pace to get ahead of Lang here today.
No, that's really the advantage of having teammates within the same race as you. You know, they will know exactly what he needs to do and who his main competition is, and working really well at the moment as a team. Whether you think that is right or wrong, you know, that is one of the things they can do. They're all in the same team and really working together, because it does seem that Miravang is really struggling here tonight to make any sort of impression and headway into this race. Started off in 8th place, lost the place to 9th, and hasn't really gained anything. Still a little way off Winkler there in 8th place, so really struggling is Miravang, and really will owe if he does manage to keep that 3rd spot in the championship. He owes a big thanks to the rest of the team for giving him the opportunity to keep it.
Yeah, exactly. And even if I'm wrong and just reading into things here, and actually the guys are not holding each other up and trying to help Miravang out, it's working. Even if they're not meaning to, it's working for their teammate who's sitting down in 9th at the moment. But Lang all over back of Christiansen, and I think he has more pace than these two in front. Just generally, I don't think it's just these two looking at him and going, well, we don't want to let him pass. But right now, Raskolson is trying to get up the road, but not really by much. He's only 3 seconds up the road, and you sort of think, well, that can be gained back in the pit stop period if the strategy's right. So we're down up to 21.5 minutes now, and the advantage for Lang is he can pull the undercut first if he wants to. He's in the position of going, right, those two are staying out, I'm going to pit, or vice versa. The other two don't know when other people are going to pit, so they're ahead of the queue. So they'll probably only know when the teammate might pit because they're discussing it over radio. But yeah, well, let's see what happens. These guys still pulling ahead of Anders Lear-Jordet, who's in 10th place, Pachetti 11th, 12th, Kroon 13th, and Marcus Bloom down in 14th at the moment. Another 3 tenths of a second has been added to the lead. God, another 3 seconds would be a little too much, but yeah, it's 3.3 seconds, and we'll just have to see whether Prevost pulls the plug on the stops early like Lang may.
I think the problem may be is obviously where he would come out. He should come out at the back of the field. I think probably the pit stop here would be around about 40 seconds. It's normally around about 20 seconds stationary for fuel, and I reckon it'll probably take around about 10 to 20 seconds to get down that pit lane, because it's obviously the full length of that start-finish straight near enough. So be interesting to see when we get the first driver in of the times it is. But you can still see on track that they're all relatively close. The last place Marcus Bloom down in 14th place. It's still only 37 seconds behind Kieran Havertz here, so not even half a lap ahead is Havertz at the moment. So still all relatively close out on track. You got that big group of cars in the midfield from Thomas Wangen all the way down to Carl Winkler. At the moment, fighting up. We've got Miravang there, about half a second to 0.8 of a second behind Miravang, and then a big gap back to Lily Jordan, and then he's got Puchetti, Torres and Brian Kroon at the back of them. Seem to be having their own little battle at the moment on track, so be interesting battle at the back for all the newcomers, and obviously Fernando Torres, always a welcome sight into this championship, and one of the things you can bet your house on that he'll be racing in every round, and he certainly hasn't lost me my house yet as Fernando Torres, but has Brian Kroon just behind him. I think he's returning to iRacing after maybe a little bit of a gap. We normally see Brian in the GT4 cars, but Payne and Alton here in the GT3s. Just having a little bit of fun to get himself back into this GT3 Pro Season 2 we have here today, but certainly heating up now in that midfield battle with Wang and Christiansen. Them two are not really going to do a lot to each other. As we watch here as Kroon looking for an overtake on Fernando Torres. Always good to see the back markers. They probably get missed out a lot on the streams.
Yeah, it's good to see that they're not all stretched out and they've got a battle of themselves with Marcus Bloom just behind him. So, we often see Fernando Torres driving around by himself or with Brian Kroon, and they've got a bit of German influence behind them with Bloom. So it's a nice little battle they're having here. It's actually Puchetti driving around and Lear Jordet who are driving around by themselves at the moment. But that 3rd to 9th place group, 5 seconds covering all of them, and that's less than Havertz has as a lead. That's more than Havertz has as a lead. So it just shows they are all quite close in terms of, we're saying Prevost dropping back from Havertz, but actually these guys have got 3rd, 4th, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars in the space of 5 seconds.
Yeah, definitely a really tight race in this midfield battle, which we always come to see here in this GT Pro Season 2 Championship. You always get that real tight midfield battle between, don't really have a lot of drivers on here, but certainly the drivers that we do have make it really interesting racing throughout. And Roger there trying to put a lot of pressure over his teammate Wangen. Won't make one of the moves probably like Wangen did on Lang a couple of laps previous, but certainly seems to be right behind the BMW driver of Wangen at the moment. Probably just trying to push him along because you got Lucas Lang there in 6th place, who's putting a lot of pressure at the moment over Christiansen. But Lang just needs to watch where he tries to overtake, because he does have Michael Palic behind him, and we've already seen Lang trying to make a move up into Tulsa there and getting it slightly wrong, and Palic jumped on the opportunity but just couldn't quite make it stick coming around into Piratella. So he certainly needs to be aware of that, and like I said at the start, it's quite difficult to get that decisive passive move around this track. So at the moment, Lucas Lang not really finding that cutting edge to make the move on Christiansen and Wang in front of him.
Yeah, I think if that had been anybody else in front, Christiansen would have gone past Wangen. But this is the performance we've been looking for from Wangen, ironically, where he just reins it back in a couple of attempts just to make sure he stays on the track and out of trouble. He's had the pace all year. He's just been waiting for this result where he doesn't sort of have an instant. Nobody heading to pit lane this time. Carl Winkler pits, sorry. Carl Winkler deciding, I'm going to get some clear space. I don't want to be in this queue anymore. And it could be an inspired move if he has some pace coming out of the pits. He will be out in some very clear air, and it'd be interesting to see if he can move up. Now, he came in 8th place between Pawlic and Miravang, so keep a mental note of that, because that is where he will be hoping he's a little bit higher after this stop.
Yeah, definitely, and it would be a really good indication of the pit lane timings for the rest of the field. So 19.95 stationary there for Carl Winkler. Currently up at 45 seconds. To be closer to 50 seconds this pit stop. So 49.33 from entry into pit lane to exit. So really long pit lane stop there. So yeah, as you see in there, a minute behind. Still not being lapped by the drivers, so it just shows the pace of the whole field out here on track. But yeah, we should expect quite a few cars coming in within the next 5 to 10 minutes. And it's going to really throw up some spanners in the works. The thing is really going to be interesting to see if Carl Winkler can make any inroads being the first driver in the pits.
Yeah, I think with RPC Esports, they'll leave one of them cars out as long as Lang stays out and try and run it all the way to the dry tank. But if they don't go out, then Lang may pit early. Let's see if anybody pits this time by. No, nobody decides to come in now because they can make it to the end from here. So I'm surprised at that. I thought somebody like Lucas Lang might have took a risk there and dropped the hammer and gone into a pit, because then he would have one lap of clear space to push like crazy. So they've done a 42.8 that time by, so it's still a little off the pace, but not too bad. Obviously a little bit later in the stint, the tyres are getting a bit hotter, especially around this circuit. So let's see what happens in terms of anybody pitting. Somebody must try and jump out of this queue soon to try and make the difference. Whether it's Christensen to try and jump Wangen or Lang to try and jump both RPC guys, we will see. Raskolson, you just saw going up to Piratella, 3 seconds ahead of his group, and that gap has not increased. So while Raskolson tried to run away, it hasn't quite worked out for him.
No, it certainly hasn't, and I think you're right. I think Lucas Lang needs to make a decision here and maybe try to go into the pits to try and leapfrog Thomas Wang and Roger Christensen in front of them, because he seems to be does have the pace on the two RPC Esport guys in front of him, but is unable to make that passing move on the cars. So maybe it will be a good idea for him to come into the pits to try and leapfrog Thomas Wang and Christensen in the pit stop battle. So be interesting to see what he's going to do. Obviously the two RPC guys can't react in front of him, but the ones behind him could do. Miravang would probably follow whatever Lang does, just to make sure he stays within that 2-car distance that he's currently holding, which will give him that third place overall in the championship.
Yeah, and each lap that goes by, Lang is running out of opportunity to try and beat these guys in terms of jumping them in pit stop. He was the quickest out of that whole group with 42.4, so the pace is still in that Porsche. It's just not quite working out for him. And as I say, the pace is there, so I don't know why he hasn't jumped to a pit lane and tried. In comes Fernando Torres from front of that back group, and he was running quite well in 11th place there. So he's let Brian Kroon and Marcus Bloom through for now. Hopefully for him, he will be able to regain that position after the pit stops when Kroon and Bloom come in. But the gap at front hasn't pulled out either. Havertz and Prevost both doing 41.9s last time by, so they're not exactly splitting up very much either. So yeah, it's very tense part of the race for these guys.
It certainly is, and just obviously bring you up to speed with the current standings in the championship. Obviously, there's a 1 point difference between Prevost and Havaz. So at the moment, Havaz out in front over Prevost, so would win the championship. So it's pretty much a winner takes all between them two drivers. But then we got Odin Miravang in third place with Lucas Lang. 17 points behind Miravang, so did need quite a big distance, but as we can see out on track, there's only one car between Lang and Miravang now, which is Michael Paulich. The battle for fifth is probably the one of the closest as well. There's only 5 points in it. Michael Paulich, Thomas Wangen there goes into the pit, so the front runner off that group is the one to flinch first. But,
yeah, like I said before, the RCP guys can leave one of the cars out and hold Lang back, so that was stopping any undercut for Wangen. But it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in terms of Carl Winkler.
Yeah, definitely. Just looking at some power, which, oh, a bit of an incident here. Who's this for? Carl Winkler here. Where is that?
This will be up at the Variante Alta. Oh, and it's a spin for Winkler, and that has blown his chances trying so hard over chicane. And like we said about the Lamborghini, doesn't like the bumps too well.
Definitely not, and he's certainly in that fight for that 7th position. So Jeremy Ribbonswado, that currently holds that position, not here tonight. So his position now, so it's between Marcus Bloom, Carl Winkler, and Anders Lily Jordet at the moment. So Carl Winkler was winning that battle for that 7th place overall in the championship, but that spin might have put him back into the clutches of Anders Lily Jordet there in 8th place. So it'll be interesting to see. Marcus Bloom obviously had that incident where he spun early on in the race. The battle for 5th with Michael Palic and Roger Christensen, 5 points in that battle. Palic at the moment 2 places behind Christensen, so that's going to be an extremely close battle as the 2nd place driver, Theobald Prevost, goes into the pit lane deciding to try and fill it up and see what he can do with a bit of free space.
Yeah, and here we go. The majority of the drivers coming in. Prevost in, Raskolson in, Lang, Paulich and Miravang, which Miravang just shadowing Lang in terms of pit stops. Leo Jordet pits as well, but Christensen able to carry on. And I was just looking on that lap, he was actually going pretty quickly and not looking at holding Lang back. So let's see where Lang comes out in terms of Thomas Wangen, because obviously Wangen's needed to push really, really hard. Prevost comes out in 3rd place because of the amount of pit stoppers. Rask Olsen is heading out. Lang and Paulich on pit exit, but it's a very long pit exit, and Wangen will be fully up to speed. So let's have a look here. Rask Olsen comes out for his 4th place. Lang is out, and he's going to be well ahead of Thomas Wangen. So that's worked for Lucas Lang. He's managed to jump Thomas Wangen, but so has Marit Paulich and Odin Miravang. So Wangen really not having a good outlap there. Looked like he was about 2 seconds slower than most people without laps, so something not quite right for Wangen, and he's only just come out ahead of Carl Winkler.
Yeah, so an absolute disastrous outlap there for Wangen. But you know, even in the pit stops, I'm just looking at the times, he was about 0.6 of a second slower than the rest of the drivers around him. So is this another incident here for Carl Winkler? So coming down the start-finish straight, obviously got Lucas Lang there just in front.
That's Leo Jordet, I think.
No, is that Leo Jordet?
Yeah, that was Anders Leo Jordet. That's how much time it cost Carl Winkler with a spin, and in the end he's going to have to do it all over again. Anders just keeping it on the circuit. But we've got the 2 leaders in, Keenan Havertz and Roger Christensen. So while we know the championship was close, but 3 seconds between them, the big one at this very moment in time is Christensen against that pack for 3rd place.
Yeah, definitely. And can Prevost do an outstanding outlap to try and close that 3-second gap to Havas to try and make him? It doesn't look like the moment that Havas is coming out. Prevost just behind him, so I think he might have lost a little bit more time there, coming down all the time. So it's around about 4 seconds, 3.8 seconds at the moment. So round about lost what, 0.4 of a second over Havas in the pit lane battle as Prevost. But looking at that 3rd place, you can see to Christensen there, he sort of dropped down a lot.
Dropped down to 6th, yeah, because looking at the pit stop times, it was Marit Paulich with a 19.4, Lang with a 19.9, and the 2 leaders 19.3, so they're even leagues ahead in the pit stops, but everybody else was over 19 seconds apart from Carl Winkler. So it would have worked for Winkler if he hadn't spun, but it's worked for Paulich and it's worked for Lang, because Paulich has jumped Christensen and Wangen in these stops.
Yeah, definitely. And Carl Winkler is obviously fighting for that 7th place overall with Anders Lily Jordet, and we did say that maybe that spin has brought him back. Certainly that 2nd one has. So real battle here between 9th and 10th for that 7th place overall in the championship. Looking at that 3rd place, Lucas Lang in 4th place, managing to get in front of the 2 pesky RPC Esport guys that were in front of him at the moment. Still has one that's still there in front of him in third, but current Lucas Lang in fourth. Miravan currently in eighth, so still Miravan would need to lose another place for Lucas Lang to leapfrog him in the championship. So still within touching distance of keeping that last spot on the podium overall in the championship. But Rasmussen's doing a really good round, and it's a pity he hasn't been here for every single round, missed the last 2 rounds, because he is a very quick driver and would have certainly been in the mix for the top end of the field.
Yeah, Rasmussen was, shall we say, the first driver let pass by Christensen earlier in the season, when he spent a couple of races waving his teammates past on the final lap. And then he seemed to disappear off the face of the planet for a couple of rounds. So, yeah, I feel for Lang at the moment because he's closed in on Rask Olsen. The gap's down to about 2 seconds. But Miravank has Wangen and Christensen just ahead. So whatever Lang does, Christensen and Wangen can just wave Miravank through if they want to, that is. You know, they don't have to. I would not want to be in the team debrief afterwards if they didn't, but it's certainly a position that RPC can play if they really need to.
Yeah, definitely. But so all permutations coming out into this last 20 minutes of the race. 40 minutes gone. Kieran Havas still out in front with a 4.2 second gap over Theobald Provost. Seems to be extending that lead lap after lap. So yeah, unfortunately, I haven't got the super close Grand Slam finish we might have, but there's still time yet for any sort of slight mistake from Kieran for Provost to take advantage of. But Rossolskin there, 21 seconds behind, only 2 seconds ahead of Lucas Lang in 4th place. So maybe Lucas can actually get onto the back of Ras Olsken, but that Audi is an extremely quick car. Very twitchy car to drive, but if you can drive it well, it's an extremely fast car out on track, and maybe a little bit too fast if he can keep ahead of the Porsche there in 4th. But his rear view mirrors will be full of the Lamborghini Michael Palich car there in 5th place, right behind Lang, and not far behind you've got Christensen. A little bit of a gap now coming in between Christensen and Wangen, and a little bit to Miravank, but nothing really to write home about. But this certainly seems to be the hot battle out on track at the moment for that 4th place.
Just going to say, actually, Roger Christensen came into this series with an absolute bang, and I know he's still young and still... but he's had nothing to lose in this championship, and there has been a couple of rounds where he's been a little bit disappointing in terms of pace, and today is one of them. I just think we've seen a lot more pace from Christensen over the course of the season to think, yeah, maybe he should have been challenging for a race win or something, but that's trying to take it to the next level to Havertz and Prevost. But I think his pace over the season has justified him a few more 3rd places than he's actually got.
Yeah, it definitely has. And what we've got to bear in mind, obviously, currently 6th in the overall standings. He actually joined the series late, so has a 0 score on one of the rounds, compared to the drivers around him that have been in every single race. So, you know, we can't take that away from Roger. And like we said in previous rounds, he's always been at the front end of the field, has Roger. So, you know, it's had an outstanding first season in the GT3. Normally at home in the Porsche Cup car, where you might recognise his name from an extremely fast driver in that car, trying his hand in the GT3 and certainly showing how versatile he is, coming into this championship late and still managing to get up to 6th place overall in the championship, and not that far behind Michael Palich, but currently at the moment trailing Palich. So Palich would continue to keep that 5th place overall, but a great season overall for Christensen there in 6th place, and really has been a team player as well, Dave. You know, we've seen him a few times giving his position up to the senior team, being he's in the junior team. So real team player and a great person to have on your team.
Yeah, exactly. And when you bring in a driver late to the series, he's on 0 points, scoring a 0 point, should we say. It's you've got to get motivation out of that driver, but he has not lacked motivation all year round. He's being very quick. He's being quicker than his teammates most of the time. And then he's been willing to, you know, it's almost like when Michael Schumacher come back from his broken leg with Malaysia. You know, he pops in a few laps, goes, look, that's me pace. That's me pace. Go on, teammate. Off you go. You know, to find a driver who's willing to do that, even in esports, is very difficult. And it just probably shows how close the RPC guys are as a team. Even though he's in the junior side of it, it shows they must be really close together. The group of Norwegians probably helps as well.
Yeah, obviously may find him in the senior team next season, but obviously with only 4 drivers allowed in per season, you can't have just a field of teammates out on track. So, but certainly shown that he can cut the mustard with the senior team, maybe only by name that is the case, but Roger doing an excellent job, and currently in 6th place and 2nd place overall in that team with Rasoskin there, still maintaining that 3rd place, but the gap seems to be coming down ever so slightly between himself and Lucas Lang in 4th place, who has the hot Michael Palic in that Lamborghini, following him closely in 5th. So it may get extremely interesting coming into the last 15 minutes of this race.
Yeah, the gap is coming down, and Lang will want to try and get that 3rd place just in case. We had a quick look there of Anders Lear-Jordet doing a great job against Carl Winkler, because we saw Carl have a brilliant start to the race and have the pace to be up with these guys. Yes, he had the spin, but Lear-Jordet holding him back in that Porsche again. And Anders has done his job quietly this season, very quietly indeed. We haven't seen him like in the top 5 and things like that, but he's just gone about his business, scored the points when he needs to, and he's looking at a very comfortable 8th, maybe 7th in the championship by the end of this season. But as we see, here is Arvid Rask Olsen in the Audi, the only Audi that's been on the grid this year. He is just staying ahead of Lucas Lang, but that gap is now down to less than 2 seconds. And behind Lang, Paulic and Christensen has suddenly woken up. Look at Roger Christensen, he's back on the back of Mount Paulic and pushing very hard for that 5th place.
Yeah, definitely. Last 15 minutes of this race is last 15 minutes of this championship, so the drivers will be pushing these cars to the absolute limit to try and just give them a good finish to what has been overall a complete success. Even though maybe we haven't had the numbers that we've seen in previous GT3 leagues here on ARL, but it has certainly not detracted from the racing that we've been entertained with out on track, even with the small grid fields. And maybe sometimes it's nicer to have the smaller grids, so then the guys can really battle it out. You know, with the larger grids, you could be caught behind slower cars for whatever reason, but this way it gives them a real good opportunity to fight it out with the guys around them and not lose too much time with slower cars at the back.
Yeah, exactly. And what we've not got to forget, we'll get there, is the sponsors that have supported us all the way through this season for the GT3 Pro League.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, certainly that, and obviously one of the sponsors is SDK Gaming, who provide our wonderful overlay here on Apex Racing TV, used on all our broadcasts. You can have a live time and tout on the left-hand side. Also does track maps. You can use it as a fuel calculator for the most up-to-date and inlaid overlay onto Twitch. So head over to stk-gaming.com and enjoy a 14-day free trial, and I'm pretty sure after that 14-day you will love it. And also one of the really good things, it links the commentators to the broadcaster, so we all see exactly the same. So great advantage of having that overlay, certainly if you are looking at doing a league. So head over to stk-gaming.com and try the 14-day free trial.
As we now watch Roger Christensen, he has got past Mount Paulic, which I have to admit, I was watching the timing screen, so I've missed that one, but he's done it at the start of his lap, because you can see the numbers on the windscreen. It's probably down into Villeneuve. Has Paulich made a mistake here, or did he get the run through into... It looks like he gets... Paulich take too much sausage on the inside of the corner. Didn't want the full fry up, and through goes Roger Christensen into 5th place. The pressure applied to the German just enough for that pass to happen.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great illustration to how them Lamborghinis do not like them sausage cars at all. The car getting really unbalanced, loses a lot of speed, and just opens up the door there for Roger to take it. So that was a relatively give me there for Roger, and Michael Paulich has got it all to do again behind them, because pretty much them cars are pretty evenly matched at the moment, and the time between Rasmussen, that we're currently watching on screen, in 3rd, and Lucas Lang is down to around about 1.5 seconds, coming down all the time at the moment. So Lang really on a charge at the moment, trying to get that 3rd place over Rasmussen. At the moment, we're looking at Miravan currently down in 8th place. So if Lang can get this 3rd place over Rasmussen and the teammate don't play game, then we could see Miravan drop down to 4th in the championship overall. So it's going to be really entertaining. But another quick shout out to one of our other sponsors, Virtual Racing School. Improve your on-track performance with 50+ data packs, road and over racing setups, track guides, data analysis software, and one-to-one coaching. Head over to virtualracingschool.com to see the wonderful packages that they can give to you to improve your on-track performance. Yeah, it gets just about getting into the last 10 minutes, and it almost looks like a done deal. I don't want to kiss a death Kieran in front, but almost looks like a done deal at the moment for Kieran. Had an outstanding race here so far in the 50 minutes of this race, and has managed to get a 5.3 seconds. It's probably the biggest gap we've seen all season between these two drivers.
And I've got to apologise. I mean, we've been watching the race all along. Brian Kroon retired 6 laps ago, and we hadn't even noticed. So Brian Kroon out of the race, and don't know what happened there, but Brian Kroon on his return to the GT series, just getting back into the swing of things, but is out of this race here at Imola, as we now look at Kim Havertz out in the lead. The Turkish driver 5 seconds in the lead, but still pushing hard, because you saw him just kick up a bit of dust on the entrance to Tosa there. He still doesn't think this is sealed, and we've seen this from him before. Keeps pushing on and ends up doing an extra lap at times. So with a 5-second lead, he needs to be trying to work that out and try and make it so it's only 6 laps, not 7 laps, which is my rough maths, trying to work out how many laps may be left in 10 minutes. But yeah, it's certainly something Havertz needs to start looking at in terms of whether he wants to, well, he should have the fuel, but he's certainly pushing on for a leader with 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, but you say that, if you look at the last times coming through, a 142.22 from Kieran, a 142.2 dead for Theobald. So you say Kieran's pushing on. He's having to do that to try and keep Prevost behind him, because Prevost certainly no slouch himself and pushing as much as he can in this car to try and close that gap. And yeah, it could be, you know, a mistake now call is going to decide this championship. If Kieran can keep it nice and consistently clean, then he's got this in the bag at the moment. But if he has a slight mistake, you've got Prevost ever there in the background that can capitalise on it. So it's going to be an interesting end to the race. But the gap here between 3rd and 4th is not really closing up that much. It's still 1.5 of a second between Rasmussen and Lang in 4th. Lang has managed to get away slightly there from Christensen, who's in a tight battle at the moment with Michael Paulich in 6th place. So those two really out on track. And Thomas Wang and Miravan are actually joined together for 7th and 8th again on the track. So these little battles in this last 8 minutes of this season 2 of the GT Pro Championship is Yeah, coming down to little car battles. And Carl Winkler, is that going into the pits again? A drive-through?
Yeah, it looks like he's driving through the pits, and maybe he's picked up a drive-through because he did have a spin earlier on, so maybe just a few too many track limits, which we have discussed are tough throughout this circuit. And it was only a 28-second lap time, but there goes Kim Havertz past Carl Winkler at a time. Is that? No, it's Pacetti, sorry.
Oh,
I just saw Lamborghini and I thought it was Havertz, but no, that's Pacetti moving up into 11th, Winkler down to 12th with Fernando Torres in 13th. That gap between Lang and Rasmussen seems to be fluctuating, and I think Lang is running a lot quicker down the straights than Rasmussen, so maybe Rasmussen has gone for that stable setup, whereas Lang is just struggling to get the power down, and that's why in the tight twisty stuff it's just stretching out a little bit more. The gap is now 2 seconds, but then you watch it down the straight, it will suddenly close up. Lang using all the track and a little bit more to out of the Rivatsa 2 corner to try and close on Rasmussen in front, taking the shortest line possible. They come across the line half a second quicker by Rasmussen and half a second quicker by the guys behind. So there's been a mistake on that lap by Lucas Lang, and that may just cost him third in the championship.
Yeah, may do. Still got 6 minutes left, so around about 4 laps, I would say, left of this race to go. But you got Miravang in 8th place with his teammate right in front of him as well, Thomas Wangen. So obviously has that option if he needs to pull that over his teammate coming into the end. Depends on where Lucas has, because where they're currently lying out on track, I believe that Miravang would still keep that 3rd place overall in the championship. Looking down the other battles for 5th in the championship, Paulic and Christiansen. So Christian's managed to leapfrog Paulic, but the gap won't be more than 5 points, so Paulic should win that. You know, one other thing for Carl Winkler, was really on course for that 7th overall in the championship. Had that blistering start, taking 2 cars off the starting line, and it's just all fallen apart after the round of pit stop. So he was the first one to come in, had a bit of an issue, spun it coming into, I think it was Valtiera Alta, spun it off there, and then we saw him again coming off down into Tamburello. So 2 mistakes from him, and then obviously we've just seen him there having to do a drive-through penalty, obviously getting above the 20 incident points, which will trigger a drive-through penalty. So unfortunately Carl Winkler down into 11th place, so that will probably give Anders Lille-Jordet in 9th place the overall 7th position overall in the championship. So
just
as we were saying,
to butt in, Kim Havertz a 1:43.2, 1:41.8 for Thibaut Prévost. The gap is down to 3.2 seconds. This championship is not over yet. I don't know if I'm guessing Havertz must have made a mistake on that lap.
Yeah, it certainly looks like that. I mean, don't know if you can find anything, Lewis, if there was a mistake from Havertz, but that is an exceptionally slow time for what has been his standards. But I suppose pushing for that long and that hard, you're going to make them slight mistakes. And like we heard him in the interview at the start, Dave, he said, you know, he normally does clip the grass, so maybe he has done that, but certainly looks like he's got back on the pace and managed to push that out to 4.8. So I don't know if Prévost had a slight incident on this lap, just trying to claw that gap down as much as he can.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the gap has been fluctuating through the corners anyway, so maybe Havertz is back on it, but that is a swing of 1.2 the opposite direction, so maybe Prévost got a little excited that he was closing in and then made a mistake himself. But we're on board with Kim Havertz. You're soon to be champion if he stays where he is. Yeah, the lap times just swapped around that time with a 41.9 for Havertz and a 43.3 for Prévost. So it sounds like very much Havertz went, here you go, Prévost, and Prévost went, no, after you. So yeah, it's one of them. It's just fluctuating at the moment, but both drivers still pushing really hard. And Havertz, that's all Prévost can do now. He's just got to keep pushing on, and the gap is going to be a little too much, I think. Now I'm just trying to work out how many. I think we may have 2 laps left after this. Lucas Lang is now 2.5 behind Rask Olsen, so he's made a mistake somewhere and dropped back. And here is Roger Christensen holding off the inspired Marit Paulic here today. He had a great start to the race last time out of it, moving up to third, but then it all went wrong. Carl Winkler had a great start this time, and Marit Paulic has really been pushing the impressive Roger Christensen along in this.
Yeah, certainly have. These two have been battling out all day over for 5th place overall in this race, and obviously fighting out for 5th place in the championship. Christensen was 5 points behind Paulic before coming into this race, so unfortunately won't leapfrog him, but we'll have the last one up on the race between these two if positions stay the same. But like you say, still a little bit of time to go in this race, probably 2 more laps left, and Michael Paulic is there right on the back of Roger Christensen's Lamborghini, so it's going to be interesting here. But yeah, that time is fluctuating between the first and second, taking it in turns to who's going to do the fastest lap. So Kieran Havas doing a 1:42.2, Prevost doing a 1:41.7, so not far off his fastest lap. So here we are, last lap.
White flag is out, and Kieran Havertz is looking like he is going to seal this championship. Don't want to put the commentator's curse on him, but it would make it quite interesting for the last lap. Matt Paulic is past Roger Christensen. A great drive by the Course Sim 1 driver. This is the closest battle on track at this moment in time. And Roger Christensen all over back of Paulic, going back up the inside into Villeneuve. Is he going to make that move? Paulic cuts across his nose, and no room for the Norwegian to make it through. So that leaves Christensen 6th, Paulic in 5th.
That was extremely close to contact between those two drivers going through Villeneuve there. So great to see the drivers giving each other a little bit of respect, but Maximum Racing and a great pass and move into Tamburello for Paulic. You know, obviously did have that advantage of the slipstream coming down the start-finish straights, and obviously made that stick. And a great time to make it stick is on the last lap.
Yeah, but this is a man of the moment. Kieran Havertz comes out of Ravazza 2, rides the curb, and Kieran Havertz is going to take the championship. He didn't do the best of results in round 1, but he's floored the rest of the challenge throughout the season, and he beats Thibaut Prevost in this race and in the championship. And Prevost comes home in 2nd place here in Imola. Rask Olsen will be coming home in 3rd if he just gets it right out of Ravazza, to kill off the chances of Lucas Lang stealing 3rd place in the championship. Here comes Rask Olsen across the line. He takes 3rd. Lucas Lang, a brave drive to 4th. He had to fight off 4 RCP Esports guys throughout that race. Rask Olsen with his fastest lap of the race on the last lap. Matt Paulic 5th. Christensen 6th. Miravang passes Wangen on the line for 7th. That was definitely team orders, just to make sure that championship 3rd place was safe, which I think it was anyway. Anders Leodordet, a nice quiet job coming home in 9th place. And then we'll have to wait another 12 seconds for Marcus Bloom, Carl Winkler, Pacetti, and last but not least, Fernando Torres.
I mean, what a great end to the championship. It wasn't the close racing we've seen for the other rounds on there, but not going to take it away from Kieran. He drove that, obviously led out from the front, getting that pole position, and pretty much didn't look back from there. Led the race from start to finish, and a big, obviously, shout out to Prevost as well. He did what he could try to do in this race, kept up with Havas as much as he could, but unfortunately it looked like the Lamborghini was the faster car around here at Imola. You know, it's been a great end to the championship overall, and yeah, what an advert for a great championship between them two drivers.
Yeah, it's been a great championship all round, and just, is this a replay coming up? It looks like, no, it's just the end of the race screen. And just looking at those results, I mean, obviously the move by Thomas Wangen didn't help Lucas Lang there. Might have got 3rd without that trip across the gravel at Tamburello, but will Prevost look back at that bizarre spin on the last lap at Watlins Glen, and, you know, has that did that make it a lot harder for him to try and win this championship?
I don't know. I mean, it's fine margins in a championship like this, isn't it? But those two have been fighting out at the top of the grid, and unfortunately, we have to have a winner, and I wouldn't call him a loser, a second place in the championship, because those two have been fighting out and literally putting on the Havertz Prevost show all throughout this season. Literally a class among the rest of the field, normally around about 5 to 10 seconds out in front of the field and in their tight battle. This is probably the biggest gap that Havertz has had over Prevost throughout the whole of the season. Obviously, we had the weird incident at Watkins Glen, but I don't think that would have made any difference overall in the championship. I think Kieran has just driven a championship. He put himself under a lot of pressure after that first round, which ended up being his drop score in the end, but couldn't make a mistake in the rest of the rounds, and certainly hasn't. So great shout out to them two guys for making it a really good championship, and to the rest of the drivers on the field. This midfield battle that we've been entertained with the whole season has pretty much brought us all the way through to the end of the season. So a big shout out to pretty much everybody who's taken to the field in this GT championship, and it's been outstanding. But Dave, do you just want to quickly take us through the results before we get Kieran in?
Yeah, here we are for the final race at Imola. Kieran Havertz won the race in dominant style, 4.3 seconds ahead of his championship rival Thibaut Prevost. The Dutchman just not quite having the pace to take the challenge to the Turkish driver. Orvid Rask-Olsen takes third place, 24 seconds off the lead, ahead of Lucas Lang, who has just missed out on third place in the championship. Matt Paulich followed his countryman home in fifth. Roger Christensen leads a quad of Norwegian drivers, with Øyvind Mirvang just passing Thomas Wangen on the line, and Anders Leochaudet for Team Vikings coming home in ninth. Marcus Bloom in 10th ahead of Carl Winkler. Filippo Pacetti in 12th. Fernando Torres 13th, and Brian Kroon retired with 13 laps to go.
There's the results here, and without further ado, we'll get our champion-elect into the commentary booth. Kieran, welcome to the booth, mate, and wow, what an excellent race. The biggest gap that you've had over Prevost all season. I mean, I don't think that could have gone any better for you, could it?
Yeah, it was on the start it was quite tough, but because I think Prevost had less wing than me, so he was catching up on the straights quite a lot, especially on the main straight. So I had to defend on lap 2, I think, and then I knew that he was going to drop on the pace because he has less wing, so his tire's gonna drop quite a bit faster than mine. It happened quite early, I guess. After like lap 8, I think he lost drought, so I tried to take it easy on the off tracks, because of the new off tracks are quite tough in this track. Yeah, and it was a very good race overall for me.
Yeah, obviously this was a winner-take-all championship round this here at Imola. Obviously you've come out on top, but I mean, the racing that both you and Prevost have done throughout the season has been second to none, and I'm pretty sure you want to give him a shout out for making it really entertaining for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. We had really good races in this whole season, except the Red Bulling, because I didn't qualify or something, so we didn't have fight with each other. But on the other 8 rounds, it was very fun to race with him overall. Yeah, and I really thank to him for that.
So, I mean, obviously your first season racing the GT3 Pro, I mean, how's it been for you overall as an experience?
Yeah, it was really good. The main reason I joined this league was to get the experience of league racing, like unofficial races. It worked really good. I had really much fun and get the experience for sure. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to my future for the league wise.
Yeah, well, we'll really look forward to having you back in an ARL league soon to maybe even defend your GT Pro Championship on the next outing. But for now, Kieran, obviously we give you the opportunity again to give a shout out for anybody you like, but from our champion elect at the moment, any last words?
Yeah, I would like to thank the lots of people since this is the end of the season. I would like to thank you to Apex for this such a great league. It was like I said, it was really fun to race all 9 rounds, and I really thank you guys for the amazing commentary on this, all the races actually. I was watching all the races like on the next day after the race with my friends, and yeah, it was really fun. And I would like to thanks to my team, Pijazita, and for the setup wise, and like they helped a lot for the pace as well. And we had a kind of fun team called Ahmed School of Motoring with my friends. We always help each other there for the setups and the overall driving for the pace. And yeah, that's it.
Well, congratulations again, Kiram. An excellent end to a very enthralling season. A championship minor ever any protest, but you were pretty much out there on their own. So I'm pretty sure it's a pretty done deal. So congratulations, Kiram, and yeah, good luck to seeing you again in a league in the near future.
Yeah, thank you guys. I will think about it for sure.
Yeah, cheers, Kiram. There was Kieran there winning the championship overall and winning this round at Imola. Be good to get Theobald in. I'll hand him over to you, Dave. I might have see how he's feeling for that, but he should be upbeat with the performance he's put in.
Yeah, you've given me even more difficult job, haven't you, Andy?
Obviously.
Theobald, here we go. Not the interview you wanted to be doing at the end of this race, but you threw everything at it.
Yeah, I tried. Yeah, it was so tough. Did so many mistakes. I guess he did as well. But yeah, was too hard on this track.
Yeah, we were watching it, and near the end, I think he did a 43-second lap time, you did a 41, and then on the next lap, you swapped over and did the opposite lap time. So it was one of them where we thought, oh, this may still be on, but you certainly pushed him earlier on in the race, and then it was a pit stop again where the gap seemed to eke out, and I suppose that's something you've probably got to look at for any championships in the future, and why he always seemed to pull something out of that stage.
I think we had the same pit stop actually. Exactly.
Yeah, just I think the gap had widened, I think, by about a second overall.
Yeah, but it was my my out lap or in lap. I did mistakes, so yeah. But he had way more pace than me. It was not easy to follow at the start. I had my strat was I had the 4 wing, which was really low, and I wanted to pass straight. But yeah, on the outside in T1 it's impossible. So
I suppose that's the thing with that setup, that if you don't get past, then it's difficult to keep up in the twisty stuff, and then you've got too much time to sort of gain back.
Yeah, I was all in on the setup on the 4 wing.
So looking back over the season, there are obviously disappointment that you haven't won it, but how are you feeling about the season as a whole?
Pretty happy, honestly. I think the only 2 races I could have done something was Spa and Sebring, the last one, where maybe I could have had a shot at the win. But the rest of the season was fine for me. I mean, I had only 2nd places and 1st places, except the Watkins Glen, but it was just a stupid not even a mistake. I mean, I think I binned it on purpose, because I was frustrated. And yeah, so overall, good season for me, I guess.
You've just answered my next question. I was going to say, we've never been able to get the chance to ask you what actually happened there at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, it was on purpose. I mean, I was so frustrated. My car had no traction anymore.
Okay.
So I started like weaving with the wheel and just binned it, but yeah.
Well, at least you admitted it. You know, there'd be a lot of drivers which were going, no, my wheel turned off or anything like that. But you've got broad enough shoulders to go, yeah, actually, I just binned it. But you've certainly given us a lot of entertainment over the season. I don't know if Andy's got any questions for you.
No, it's just obviously, thanks a lot for coming in to have a chat with us at the end of the race. Must be quite hard considering, the battling that you were having with Kieran throughout this season, obviously. But the main thing is it's great to have somebody that you're that close to in a championship. Even coming second, if you come first and win it by a country mile, I don't think there's much satisfaction in that. But certainly the battles that you and Kieran have had this season has been really good to watch on screen, and it's been really close and clean racing between the two of you. So from me personally, it's been great to watch you on there. And like you say yourself, the lowest position you got in the scoring is second. So to have a low in scoring of second and just missing out on the top spot certainly shows that you've got the pace. And unfortunately, it was just probably the track configuration for the last round probably put paid to you on that, using that BMW. But we can certainly say that you give it all for that whole entire season. So a big thank you for you, and thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, thanks to you guys as well, and well deserved for Karen.
Definitely. So I don't know if you want to give a shout out to anyone before we let you go, Theobald.
Yeah, for sure. To my friends that might be watching, actually. Again, you guys.
Have we lost Theobald?
Oh
no, he's back.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Press mute.
Yeah, so I don't think you got everything. I'm not sure.
No, I think we got up to your guys on the stream, and that was about it. We cut out, so carry on from there.
Oh yeah, so my friends on the stream, if they are watching right now, you guys as well, for the whole season, and to Apex as well, and of course my team Valkyrie, always here, even in the Discord when I'm racing the races. So yeah, thank you to everyone.
Thank you very much for joining us, Theobald. Unfortunately, coming second in this round of the championship, so hopefully see you back soon in one of the ARL leagues to try it again, and hopefully you can have your redemption over Kieran if he joins the same one. But it's been great seeing you on track, and really great racing between yourself and Kieran. So thank you very much.
Thanks to you guys. See you soon, hopefully.
So there was Theobald. I think what'll be interesting, and we'll try it again and see if it causes organised chaos, is we'll get Miravang and we'll get Ras Olskan in, both from the RPC Esports, to look at their individual races and talk about their team. So I'll give you a better interview this time here, Dave.
Yeah, thanks. We'll start with Orvid Rask Olsen, third place here today. You haven't done the whole season, but the Audi certainly brought the goods to the race at Imola.
Yeah, I lacked some inspiration to do the last rounds because of all my DNFs. So, but I went to this race to help my teammates, and I hope I did what I have to came for.
Yeah, obviously you and I think it was Thomas at first were up front, and then Roger got past Lucas as well, and then Odin was sort of having a watching brief, I think, at first throughout the race, sitting at the back of the queue, just sort of letting you hold back Lucas the best you could.
Yeah, that's my that's how I look at it. And Lucas was faster than me in the start, so I had to drive quite defensively, but I got my rhythm afterwards, and then started just pulling lap times and doing my job, and it's one of my best races, so I'm super happy. I learned the track 4 days, so I'm just a little bit disappointed. I didn't go with the Audi from the start, so maybe the whole season could have been better, but I had 2 technical faults, so I cannot do anything about them, but yeah.
And Odin, it looks like you've claimed third place in the championship. How do you feel about that?
Well, if I have, it's great. Yeah, that's really happy about that, if that's the case. I haven't really, what's it called, dared think about it yet, so...
We think think Lucas had to finish third if you finished 8th, and obviously, was it Thomas just letting you buy on the line just to make sure?
Kinda not. I picked the wrong setup, I feel, so I didn't have pace on the straights at all. I just couldn't get it together during the race, so I let Thomas buy to pull me along, so I didn't hinder him and me. So we decided that when finish comes, he will let me pass again.
And a question to both of you. We'll start with Odin. Just a season where the RPC guys have took the team's championship as well, and you've pretty much dominated that. The cars have always looked pretty quick every time we've got them out of the garage. So as a team effort, how do you feel the season has gone?
It's been really good. Everybody has worked hard and pulled the team along, and everyone has done great. So I'm really happy about it. I think it's been very well.
And Orvin?
Yeah, I feel the same. As I said earlier, the team spirit is really good in the RPC, and we train together, we push each other, and today we were driving for Odin and trying to get Thomas as well into the top 10, I think. So yeah, I think it's really fun to drive with these guys, and we do one heck of a job together. So.
And you've obviously all got the different cars. You've got the Audi in the team, you've got the Lamborghini with Roger, and you've got the BMW with Auden and Thomas. So it's not like you can all you can work together for the setup, but you can't all just literally make one and share it about, really.
No, that's true. I also started with the BMW to do exactly what you said, to work together, but the car didn't suit my style, and I had driven the R8 for so long, so I jumped over, and Roger came in quite late and wanted to try something different at Daytona, so that's how it played out.
So I think it's third and the team's championship as well. Congratulations to you both. Would you like to give a shout out to anybody, starting with Odin?
Oh, yeah, it's the normal bunch. It's my team, and Øyvind, especially this round. But other than that, I don't. My wife, of course, she's watching, and my friends who are watching, cheering me on.
And Orvid?
Yeah, the same for me. The team, as always. I couldn't done it without them, and I have a patient girlfriend, so thanks to her as well. And hope to do some more Apex racing in the future.
That's great to hear, and thanks for joining us for the championship, and you've been a great entertainment throughout the season.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
It's Odvin Miravan getting the third place overall with a little help from his friends from the RPC.
You kind of feel a little sorry for Lucas knowing there's four of them against one, don't you? I know
we do.
But the good thing is, we've just spoken to Tebow. He's gone, yeah, I threw it in the wall at Watkins Glen. You talk to those guys, yeah, I'm here for Auden. They're not going to brush it under the carpet. They're going to tell you the truth, and that brings a little bit more respect to it, because they could have come along going, actually, we just weren't that quick today, and Lucas just got stuck behind us. So it's nice that they will go, yeah, we're here for Miravang, and it's and hello to Mrs. Miravang as well, watching on the stream.
But that's the power of being in a team environment. Your teammates around you, and you heard there Rasmussen saying that he didn't have appetite to join these, but decided to do it to try and help Odin out, secure that third place, and that's what being part of a team is. That's the difference between and you get that same sort of ethos on endurance racing. You're doing it for the team, and that was very much a third place overall. That Odin got there was because of the team around him, giving him the opportunity to secure that third place overall. overall, and really putting hampers on the German, who overall, again, obviously Lucas hasn't joined us in the commentary box, but he's driven that Porsche exceptionally well. Had a couple of slight incidents himself, but should certainly not be disappointed with his feat this year's. Again, 4th place overall in a Pro Championship in an ARL league is an achievement in itself. Certainly with the strength of field that we have had, even though it's only been a small field. The drivers that we've had in this field have been like the top of the game and have been so quick throughout the whole of the 9 rounds that we've had. So, I mean, overall, it's just been exceptional. But any sort of final thoughts for you, Dave, over the experience of doing another season with me commentary and another GT Trophy season?
Well, I won't comment on doing another season with yourself, but no, it's been an absolutely brilliant season of racing. We've had a championship challenge all the way to the line, and like we said at the start, we've not had the big grids that we had last year, but we haven't had a runaway champion. We haven't had, I mean, honestly, that was the least action-packed race we'd had all year. And I don't know if that was down to the circuit, but that shows you how action-packed the season has been with only sort of 15, 16 cars all year. So a great season, and congratulations to Kieran and commiserations to Thibaut. Either of them deserve to win that championship.
100%, but that brings us to the end of this round and to the end of this championship. Slightly a little bit sad. I've really enjoyed these races, you know, and commentating on all the teams and drivers within the championship itself. Just to echo what Dave said, congratulations to Kira, congratulations to Theobald. You know, like you said, either one of them two would have been worthy winners of this championship. Those two are well out in front of the rest of the field. So I think the championship overall went to one of the two deserving drivers in this championship. But you know, there's lots more to come on Apex Racing TV. So if you're watching us on the stream, give us a thumbs up, click that subscribe button and click that bell, and you'll get notifications of all the series and all the races here on Apex Racing TV. So just look out for the new season of the GT3 whenever that comes out, and look at doing it all again for season 3. But from myself, Andy Thompson, and from Dave Whitehouse alongside me in the commentary, who I will say has been exceptional, and I do love doing it with you, mate. I love you, Dave, so there you go, I'll give you a shout out. And to Lewis, who is the quiet assassin in the background, is our Lewis, giving us the excellent camera angles, the brilliant on-spot replays. I'm sure he is telekinesis with us, and basically just giving exactly what we're thinking and that. So great thank you to Lewis as well. But until next time, guys, in season 3, we bid you farewell to the GT Trophy Pro, and congratulations again to Kieran Havas, our champion in season 2. Good night.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.